Hey guys, this is Josh here with Trillium Wild Edibles, and today I want to bring you guys a short little identification video on wood sorrel. Now, I've talked a little bit about wood sorrel in some of my other videos before, but I've never actually done an identification video on it. So I figured this would be a good time to do that. Now, right here in front of us, this very small, delicate plant that you see is wood sorrel. This is known as yellow wood sorrel, and there are several various species of wood sorrel that exist within the United States. Yellow wood sorrel is going to be common within your lawn or around gardens, also around the edges of wood lines in parks or in your yard or anywhere else for that matter. Now, granted, this plant is called wood sorrel. It's not actually related to sheep sorrel, so that's something to keep in mind, that these are two completely different plants and they shouldn't be confused. Another thing that some people might confuse these with is clovers. They might think they're a species of clover because of the way that they look. However, these are nowhere near related to clovers. This is actually an oxalis species, and it's named oxalis because of the oxalic acid that this plant has. Now, there are a couple good things and bad things about oxalic acid. Another thing to keep in mind with oxalic acid is it can inhibit the absorption of calcium by the body. However, that's not a concern for most people. Now, yellow wood sorrel is generally a very small plant. This is an extremely small specimen here, but it has a great flower that I can show you guys. Wood sorrel will grow anywhere from 1 to 2 inches, all the way up to 6 to 12 inches that I've seen in some cases. It can get quite large, and you can get a lot of leaves from one plant. Okay, now let's take a closer look at some of the leaves of wood sorrel. As you can see, there are 3 leaflets per leaf. Each one of them has a very distinct cleft or a heart-like shape, just like you can see here on all of these leaves. Yellow wood sorrel will usually grow from a single stalk, and its branches will usually alternate up the stem until you get closer towards the top, where you're generally going to notice a very large cluster just like this here. Another interesting thing to note on this wood sorrel, for example, is what's left of the yellow flower as it's closing up, and then this pod or the fruit which contains the seeds of wood sorrel. These pods will come after the flowers, and they'll come from the axils from where the flowers were. Now, there isn't anything that's terribly distinct about these leaves except for their heart shape and their unique cleft and the fact that they slightly resemble clover. Now, right here is a really good side-by-side comparison of a white clover leaf versus a wood sorrel leaf. Here in my left hand is the white clover leaf, and here in the right hand is the yellow wood sorrel that we are discussing today. Another unique difference between white clover and yellow wood sorrel is not only their flower colors, where white clover has a white flower, yellow wood sorrel obviously has a yellow flower. But white clover grows in very low colonies on the ground, and it forms like mats, whereas yellow wood sorrel grows in singular plants. They don't grow in mat form. They grow up and form these small stalks, just like this plant here. Now, you can see just after a few minutes of me picking this plant for demonstration, you can see its leaves are already wilting and starting to fold. This is another thing about wood sorrel. As soon as you pick it, within about 5 to 10 minutes, its leaves are going to start closing up on you. That's nothing to be afraid of. That's nothing to be concerned about. It's perfectly natural. It's just how this plant works. Okay, so now that we've taken a little bit of a look at the main plant of wood sorrel, let's go back and discuss the plant's flowers. Now, if we look really closely at the flowers of yellow wood sorrel, we're going to notice 5 petals. And violet wood sorrel has the same feature. It has 5 petals as well. However, its flowers are purple or violet. If we look really closely here at the node where this flower started, you can actually see 2 of these small pods starting to form right here. The shape of the flower is kind of like a trumpet or a horn shape if you look at it in a silhouette, just like this. To my knowledge, yellow wood sorrel doesn't have any toxic lookalikes, so that is a good thing. However, it might be different if you live in a country besides the United States. I know here in the eastern woodlands of the United States, we don't have any toxic lookalikes to this plant. So this is a very, very easy and safe plant to teach your children about, and it's also safe to teach anybody who's new to the subject. Now, some of you guys may be wondering what exactly you can do with this plant as far as food. It is very common in wild food literature. However, let's discuss it really briefly. You can take the leaves, the stems, the flowers, and the pods, and you can boil them in water for 5 to 10 minutes and make a really acceptable beverage. It's really good. This plant has a citrusy sort of lemony flavor with a little tartness to it. It's absolutely delicious. You can eat these leaves raw in salads or burgers or wraps or sandwiches. You can cook them up and you can add them to soups and stews for a kind of a lemony flavor that you want, maybe like a chicken soup, or add them to some wood nettle soup would be extremely delicious. You can also take the tea that you would make from boiling this plant and you can make it into syrup or even jelly. It does make a delicious lemony flavored jelly that goes great on buttered toast. And the syrup is awesome with pancakes or over top of ice cream. You can also make a very, very nice ice cream topping by thickening that a little bit and adding some extra sweetener. So I hope that gives you guys a good idea on how to identify yellow wood sorrel and gives you a little bit of an idea as to what to do with it. If you're interested in learning how to make wood sorrel syrup, I'll put a link in the description down below for you guys to check out my video on making wood sorrel syrup. I thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned just a little bit of something. If you want to learn more about edible or medicinal plants, make sure to subscribe.